Today I'd like to do a quick reading from the hardcover of my horror novel, The Hole. This book's currently up in the Autumn Equinox giveaway that I'm giving away on my website, so if you want to win a copy of this, head on over there and hit that button. The hardback was produced by Dark Fuse Press a few years back. The book's currently available in ebook and paperback, and I've got some of these limited edition hardbacks that I'm giving one away of. It's a horror novel set in the States, and the section I'm about to read starts. There's a group of people trapped in a roadside bar. The Centre for Disease Control have taken over the town to try and find out what is going on, and these people trapped in the bar are trying to get out to find out what's going on. "Are you sure this is wise?" Bill said. It had grown dark outside. The CDC had the parking lot lit up with arc lights, but here, at the back of the bar, the gloom thickened. Shadows crept. Janet stood at the open kitchen door, looking out into the backyard. "The CDC's no better off than we are," she said, "and the General's answer's to bomb the shit out of the place. I'm sure that's not wise." She turned to look at the sheriff. They were the only two at the door, the others having turned down the chance to watch the experiment in favour of staying at the bar. They'd left Fred and a girl in conversation, Ellen Summons in her corner, and Charlie behind the bar with a fresh bottle of J&D. Here, at the kitchen door, the only sound came from the constant beat of the bar's generator. Janet leaned against Bill. He put an arm around her and pulled her close, and they stood like that for a long time, neither speaking. And the darkness gathered in the yard outside. Shadows shifted in the passenger seat of the running pickup. Night fell. Somebody was sitting in the pickup, staring back at Janet and the sheriff, unmoving. "It's showtime," Bill whispered. "Shh, I'm concentrating." The figure swung itself out of the seat. The legs flowed and thickened, became pale, naked, strangely thin, 3 toes on each shoeless foot. The too thin body rolled out of the pickup, languidly, smoothly, with all the grace of a practiced dancer, and it stood in front of them, unblinking. 5 foot high, its arms too long in proportion to its height, a slender oval head tilted to one side, with large oval eyes, all pupil, blacker than the surrounding shadows. They stared straight at Janet. It raised a hand. There was only 2 long fingers and a thumb. It spoke from a mouth that was little more than a slit across the lower part of its face. "Fred is dead," it said. Janet took a deep breath, stepped out of Bill's arm to stand directly in front of it. She had no real plan of action beyond attempting communications. She held up her right hand to mimic the thing's gesture and spoke back to it. "Fred is dead," she said. "We are with Fred," it replied. Janet watched carefully. There were no accompanying hand or head movements that might give away what it meant or what it wanted in reply. "We are with Fred," she answered, hoping she was saying the right thing and not just making matters worse. "Fred is dead." This is getting us nowhere. At the corner of her eye, she saw something else shift in the dark inside the pickup. There was now somebody else in the passenger seat. "Janet," Bill whispered behind her. "I see it," she said softly. The thing in front of her cocked its head at the sound. "Oh, I know it reacts to me. It's not just some kind of recording. So what do I do now?" She stepped closer, opened her arms, showing her palms. "We mean you no harm." "We mean," it replied, and opened out its palms at her. At the same time, a second pale figure stepped out of the pickup. It too spoke. "We mean." "Janet, this isn't fucking Close Encounters. Get back in here." "We mean," a third one said as it stepped out of the shed. 2 more came into the yard from out of the trees, and once all 5 of them were together, they advanced on Janet. She tried to force down her fear, remembering nights spent hiding under cover, too scared to look out in case the Greys had come for her. There were other times too, when she'd run home in the gloom, scared that a sudden bright light overhead might lead to her being sucked up and away into the sky. Silly, girlish worries from a time long past and watching too many videos. But they were all too real here in the dark of this yard. "Janet," Bill said. She heard the fear and worry in that one word. She ignored them and held her ground as the Greys gathered around her. "We mean you no harm," she said softly. We mean, they said in unison. The closest one reached out and stroked her arm. The pain hit her immediately, as if a red-hot poker had been drawn across her skin, the burn coming up in a 6-inch pencil-thin line. She drew her arm away as another one reached for her. We mean, they said, and closed in. One of them grabbed her on the wrist, its long fingers circling all the way round, bringing a new flare of pain that was almost unendurable. She screamed. They backed off, as if confused. We mean, they said. Janet could barely speak through her pain. What do you want? She felt Bill's hand on her shoulder. What do you want? She shouted. They cocked their heads to one side. We mean. They came forward again, their long fingers reaching for her, as if to touch her. When Bill dragged her away, she let him do it. We mean, Grace said, and kept coming. Eat shit and die, a voice replied. Charlie stood in the doorway, waving a flashlight, passing the beam over the pale forms. Where the light hit, they melted and flowed, and thin wisps of dark smoke rose from the liquefying flesh. We mean, they whispered, and they collapsed in a bubbling mess in the dirt. Within seconds there was nothing left of them, just wet ground, and thin smoke that quickly dissipated in the breeze. If you like that, enter the giveaway at williammiko.com for a chance to win it. Thank you for listening. We'll speak again.